Today we're at Belton Farm and we're gonna see how Red Fox cheese is made. Back in 1922, Stanley Beckett left his family's business in Manchester to go work at Belton Farm as a student. He eventually ended up buying the farm, and since then, Belton Farm has gone on to produce multi-award-winning cheese. In 2012, Belton introduced a new, modern British cheese called Red Fox. The Red Fox name refers to the weather vane that has been atop a building at Belton Farm since 1815. The Red Fox cheese is a unique recipe developed over many years and creates a russet-colored, crunchy, and absolutely delicious cheese that is loved by many. Now, let's get suited and booted, hands washed, and hairnets on and into the factory to see the process of how Red Fox cheese is made. Belton's dairy manager is taking us each step of the way through how Belton makes their Red Fox cheese. Although we didn't see the milk being collected, pasteurized, and cooled, that is the first step in the cheese-making process. Once the milk is in the vats, starter culture is added to the milk. Starter culture ripens the milk. Once the milk is ripened, vegetarian rennet is added. This sets the milk. The set is then cut to form curds and whey. The curds and whey are then poured onto this first table where the separation of the curds and whey begins.
Got your curds and whey coming down out the vat now, and at this point it's still very soft. You've got it's okay, it's firm, but it's quite soft.
Looks like scrambled eggs.
Yeah, it does actually, doesn't it? So what the guys now get their hands in, because if you were too rough and used mechanical stirrers at this point, it would damage the curd. So they get their hands in and they're working the whey off. So then you end up with something like this. So you get your curd like that. I see the whey starting to come out and it's starting to firm up a little bit and you're getting more chunks, but these have to be still turned, and the reason you turn them is to release more whey from it, so you're not getting too much moisture in it.
The curds move along each table and more whey is removed. They are tested constantly by the cheesemakers to ensure the acidity is where it needs to be for the next step of the cheesemaking process. When the right level of acidity is reached, the salt can be added.
So what they're going to do now is they're going to stir it up, and if you watch there, you'll see the cheesemaker add the salt by hand.
Belton is still using the traditional method where the cheesemakers add the salt by hand. The curds are then popped on a conveyor belt that moves them over to the next area in the factory. Andy and I are trying the curds, and honestly, they taste so good. The texture at this point is similar to a halloumi. I could have eaten a whole bag of those curds then and there. They're already so delicious. The curds are then put into a cheesecloth and pressed a few more times until all the liquid is removed. The next couple of clips have some hydraulic presses in them, and it's so satisfying to watch. I could not take my eyes off of it. Andy showed me how they put these metal boxes together which hold the cheese while it's being pressed. In this box, the cheese is formed into its shape and pressed for 18 hours to make sure it's ready for its next location, cold storage for maturation. The cheese looks huge now, but after the cold storage maturation, it'll get cut to size. The whole cheesemaking process takes about 23 hours from pasteurization to storage before the process starts over again. Once packaged up and labeled, which Belton Farm do here in-house, the cheese is sent out to supermarkets nationally like Tesco, Waitrose, Morrison's, Ocado, and specialty stores, as well as international shops too. I'm back from from Belton Farm and seeing how the Red Fox cheese is made. And now we're in my kitchen, and what better to make with some delicious cheese than a cheese toastie. So I've got the Belton Farm Red Fox right here, and we're gonna be using some really nice sourdough, some red onions, some bacon, of course, for some crunch, and it's gonna be so tasty. And it's so easy, you can make it at home. Just head to your local supermarket and pick up some Red Fox cheese. Let's jump straight in. So the onions are in the pan over here, and they're just gonna cook down a little bit on like a medium heat. And once they've gotten a little bit softer, we're gonna add some balsamic vinegar in there, which is so delicious. And I love to add balsamic vinegar when I'm cooking onions. It'll give them a really nice rich color and also add to the flavor. While that's going on, we're gonna cook the bacon in the air fryer. And I know people are gonna be like, what? Why are you doing it in an air fryer? But you know what? Cooking bacon in an air fryer is so easy. If you have streaky bacon, it takes like 6 minutes for it to be crispy and absolutely perfect. So I highly recommend giving it a go before you knock it. So we're gonna cook the bacon in the air fryer. We have the onions on the go. Then all we're gonna do is grate the cheese, which is gonna be so nice and allow it to melt really well in the toastie. So yeah, let's get going with the bacon now. If you haven't tried Red Fox cheese before, it's so creamy, but also has a really nice crunch to it. And it's amazing when melted, which is why I've chosen to make a cheese toastie. But honestly, I could just eat it as it is because it's got such nice flavor and crunch to it. It's like a little sweet too, and a little salty. That is so good. I hope you had fun coming with me to Belton Farm to see the Red Fox cheesemaking process and cooking up this delicious cheese toastie in my kitchen. I'll see you in the new year for another episode of How Food is Made.